Senate will come to order for this Tuesday, 15th day of February, 2022. Roll call, please.
Senate roll call, Tuesday, February 15th. Anderson. Baldwin. Beitman. Boner. Bouchard. Case. Cooper. Driscoll. Ellis. French. Furphy. Guru. Hicks. Hutchings. James. Kinski. Cole. Cost. Landon. McCune. Nethercott. Pappas. Perkins. Rothfuss. Salazar. Schuler. Scott. Steinmetz. Wasserberger. Anderson. President Dockstader.
Here.
30 present.
Thank you. Prayer by Father Cronkleton.
Let us pray. Lord God, as we settle into the routine of introducing bills, referring them to committees, discussing legislation, and voting upon the matters for consideration, help us to hang on to the enthusiasm and the energy of yesterday. We remember especially today the men and women in our armed forces, those who are in active duty, the reserves, and those who've served us in the past and are now our veterans. Bless them for all their sacrifices. Give us ourselves that gift of humility. Help us to recognize that everything we have and are, everything we shall be and shall possess, comes from you as gift. Let us therefore stand before you, recognizing that you are creator and we are creature. May we turn to you for guidance and inspiration. Let us cooperate with you and with each other and work together as a whole so that we can produce something far greater together than we can alone by ourselves. Help us to listen to each other, to the people we serve, and most especially to your gentle nudges and insights. We ask this and all these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Senator Rothfuss, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have the reading correction approval of journal. Will the reading clerk please read the journal committee report?
Mr. President, your Journal Committee reports that the Journal of February 14, 2022 has been read and recommends that it be approved. Senator Kolb, Chairman.
Are there any objections? There being none, the report is accepted. Business of the day, of course, we welcome Father Thomas Cronkleton Jr. of St. Mary's Cathedral again with us today. We appreciate many times that he helps us. Today in history, on February 15th, 1921, Sublette County was created from Fremont and Lincoln counties. Teton County was created from Lincoln County. And those were the last counties in Wyoming to be formed. How about that? We're still dealing with redistricting all these years later. Quote from the day: "Those who stand for nothing fall for anything." Alexander Hamilton. All bill drafts are to be in final form and due at LSO by noon tomorrow. Everybody hear that? Thank you. Let's wait till we get those doors closed in the back. Let's do a little presentation here, folks, as we get started. Would our page come forth? Faith, where are you? There you are. Let's step up to this microphone, just where you wanted to do here this morning, right? Turn that on. Faith comes from a wonderful family out west. She's involved in a lot. Sergeant of Arms at Girls State. And she's a senior now at Star Valley High School, been part of the athletic program, the indoor track program. She manages a football team. She's almost a coach unto herself out there. She keeps those boys lined out. Appreciate what she does at home, and we appreciate what she does here in Cheyenne at the Senate. She is actually being hosted by Jill Lucero here in Cheyenne. She's a teacher at East High School, and her host, Jill, was a student page 34 years ago here in the Capitol in the Senate. So with that, Paige, tell us a little bit about yourself, your very dynamic family, and your thoughts about serving here on the Senate floor. Go ahead, Faith.
All right. Well, I'm super grateful to be here before you all. Man, it's really intimidating being up here. But you guys are all very nice, and I'm super thankful to be here. Super interested in learning more about this. In my future, I do plan on going to college. I think I want to major in secondary education. I'm not sure quite what subject I would like to pursue. I'm thinking more history, government type things. So it's a good thing that I'm here learning more about it. And yeah, my family is super happy that I'm here. I'm super grateful I'm here. Let's see, what more about myself? Oh, I really like making cakes and baking. Yeah. Thanks. And then in the spring, I'm going to be playing soccer. I'm super excited for that. And then when I come home, I'm just going to jump right into state indoor track. And yeah, so thank you.
Tell us about your family, parents, siblings.
Oh, yeah. My father, Gary Shaw, he was a police officer for almost 30 years in Teton County. And yes, and my mom worked at the prosecutor's office in Teton County, and that's how they met one another. My older brother is currently going to college in Chadron, Nebraska, where he is studying criminal justice. Yes. So, yeah.
That's why I wanted you to hear about the family.
Yes. All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, Faith. We'd like to now welcome onto the floor Wyoming's Adjutant Major General Greg Porter, Command Chief Master Sergeant Josh Moore, Wyoming's Senior Enlisted Leader. We've got you here, gentlemen. Let me do a formal introduction here. Fellow Senators, we are honored to have Wyoming's Adjutant General Major General Greg Porter and Command Chief Master Sergeant Josh Moore, Wyoming's Senior Enlisted Leader, with us here today on the Senate floor to recognize Wyoming's several military members who are proudly serving as our sword and shield. As the sword, Wyoming airmen and soldiers answer the nation's call. They mobilize and deploy all over the world as members of the armed forces. As the shield, they respond here at home, ready to tackle floods, fires, and all things in between. We welcome these brave men and women to the Senate and thank them for their service and sacrifices. General, we invite you to say a few words and introduce us to these fine individuals. Go ahead, sir. The microphone is yours.
Hey, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, members of the Senate. I really do appreciate you allowing us to be here today. You know, Chief Moore and I are pretty excited. We get to spend just a few minutes talking to you about our favorite subject, and that's the men and women of the Wyoming Military Department. I'm privileged to represent more than 3,000 of these individuals who make up our military department. And today I just get the opportunity to share just a very few of their stories. You know, Governor Gordon mentioned yesterday, and the President of the Senate just mentioned it, that I refer to our force as the sword and the shield. And that's true, but I have to tell you, that's really based on some very clear-eyed guidance from our commander-in-chief that says, you have to do three things, General Porter. You have to make sure you take care of your people. You have to be able to respond to our nation's wars. And you have to make sure that you can respond to our residents here in the homeland in the state of Wyoming. Wyoming Military Department does a lot of great things, but those three core tasks, you must be able to do at all times. The Sword and Shield reminds me every day of Governor Gordon's three core tasks and his directive to me. The sword is lethal to our enemies. The shield protects our residents here in the state. When I speak about the sword, I'm very intentional about including the word lethality. The National Guard is the combat reserve of both the Army and the air. If diplomacy fails, the Wyoming Guard must be prepared to rapidly deploy, fight, and most importantly, win in large-scale air and Army combat operations. The U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan marked the end of America's longest war. The next war, the one I am charged with preparing our guardsmen and women to fight, will likely be different. All of us can see that there is no safe place in the world. With Russia poised to take action in Ukraine, China is competing with the United States and our allies in every domain, whether it's the air, the land, the sea, space, or cyber. If it comes to a fight, we must win. And I don't mean by a little bit. This isn't like the Olympics when the gold medalist comes in and the silver medalist comes in 400ths of a second behind them. We must be dominant. We must leave our enemies at the starting gate. Our enemies cannot share the podium with us. We must be that mindset as we train. Because if we win by this much, too many of our people don't come home. To this day in the chamber, though, I'd like to focus on the shield. As most of you know, the National Guard had a significant role this past year. And I'll tell you, your Wyoming Guard is no exception. Our Air National Guard just spent their second busiest firefighting season with the Modular Airborne Firefighting System. Both the Army and the Air participated in both capital response missions to Washington, D.C. Here in Wyoming, your Guard, along with colleagues of the Department of Health, led by Interim Director Stephen Johansson, and our colleagues in the Office of Homeland Security, led by Director Lynn Budd, conducted Operation Patch Adams. The intent behind Patch Adams was to provide additional support to our communities and hospitals that were frankly flat worn out from the last months of COVID fighting. More than 100 Guardsmen, men and women, have stepped up to assist 26 medical facilities in 18 communities. The men and women assigned to this mission have laundered more than 247,000 pounds of bedding, cleaned 22,000 hospital rooms, delivered 70,000 meals, facilitated 64,000 health screenings, and jumped in wherever they had been asked to. Today, Chief and I brought 4 Wyoming airmen and soldiers who are serving our communities in these facilities. Please stand when I call your name. Sergeant Sean O'Grady, Specialist Royce Madden, Staff Sergeant Andrew Bites, and Airman Bradley Hammond, and all been working at Cheyenne Regional Medical Center. You know, initially I was concerned about the duties that our soldiers and airmen would be accomplishing. I wasn't quite sure that's what I want our soldiers and airmen to be doing, but I can tell you I no longer have that concern. Our hospitals have been absolutely outstanding to our folks, and they've been tremendously grateful. They have treated them with nothing but dignity and respect. And I can tell you, talking with those soldiers and airmen, they feel a real sense of accomplishment and belonging, being able to help their communities out the way they do. So it's been a great mission. Following our withdrawal from Afghanistan, the U.S. brought thousands of at-risk Afghani allies back home in Operation Allies Welcome. The Department of Defense component of this was Operation Allies Refuge. The Wyoming Air National Guard deployed 13 airmen to support that effort, and we brought 2 of them with me here today, and they have an incredible story. Let me introduce you to Senior Master Sergeant Jennifer Ballinger and Technical Sergeant Shiloh Vallow. These two outstanding airmen volunteered for temporary assignments at McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey. Within days of their arrival on a seemingly normal shift, Senior Master Sergeant Ballinger and Technical Sergeant Ballo were alerted by an Afghani father that his wife was in labor. With only male doctors on duty, the laboring pregnant woman wanted a female for support. Even though these two airmen have no formal medical training and serve in administrative roles in the Air National Guard, they are both moms. Like we have come to expect from our Wyoming National Guardsmen, they were quick to react. Despite a language barrier, Sergeants Ballinger and Ballo know exactly what to do and ensure the safe delivery of a newborn baby girl. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see why this is our favorite subject to talk about. Our people are incredible. Mr. President, thank you for the opportunity for the chief and I to be with you here today. You have many difficult tasks ahead of you, from budget to redistricting, ARPA monies, much needed raises for our state employees, and the myriad of bills and legislative discussions you will each have in the days. It is a testament to your support of the National Guard that we're allowed to spend just a few moments with you. I think there are many similarities between our Wyoming Guardsmen and our Wyoming legislators. Each of us represents Wyoming. We both have ranchers, bankers, miners, doctors, lawyers, students, grocery store workers within our ranks. We each are moms, dads, grandmothers, have brothers and sisters. We each take time away from our jobs, family, church, hobbies, and personal pursuits to serve the people of Wyoming in the best way that we know how. I've spoken to you today about the sword and the shield, but let me end with our motto, ride for the brand. Each of you know this comes from the Cowboy Code of Ethics, the code that this body adopted back in 2010. In the Wyoming National Guard, when we end a meeting, we stand, we salute, and we say, ride for the brand. This reminds us that we serve something greater than ourselves. Cowboy Teddy Blue Abbott had this to say about the brand in his recollections. They were intensely loyal to the outfit. They were working for and would fight to the death for it. They would follow their wagon boss through hell and never complain. On behalf of the men and women who make up the Wyoming Military Department, thank you for all that you do and the sacrifices that you make. Bless our veterans, bless our families, bless all those who serve the sword and shield. Ride for the brand. Thank you. Thank you.
General Porter and Chief Moore, thank you for joining us and allowing us to honor these outstanding men and women. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your service to Wyoming and the nation. Introduction, reading, and reference of bills. We have a consent list, Mr. Majority Floor Leader. Oh, privilege of the floor, Senator Land. Please do.
To interrupt the flow for just a moment. I serve as your committee chairman for Transportation and Military Affairs. I just wanted to send a salute out to those gentlemen who just visited and to all of those in the upper balcony. It's been a real honor to work with them throughout the interim. They helped us to develop some bills that you will see later in the session. I think they will make a difference in the lives of our folks. You know, another thing, Mr. President, that's been kind of a tradition for me on Military Day, I like to stand up and give a little salute to somebody who is really dear to me. We lost him 2.5 years ago. And my dad, Orv Landon, was a member of the 253rd. Some of you have heard me say that. And he liked to say that he crawled across France during World War II on all fours. About 5 or 6 days after they broke through the German lines and some of the toughest fighting there was south of the Battle of the Bulge, they came upon a concentration camp and they liberated that camp. The Germans who were holding those people in the camp had fled because the Allied forces were closing fast. And Dad always told me that that was the one memory that stayed with him every single day for the rest of his life. And so thank you for giving me a moment to just pay homage to him and to all of those guys in the 253rd. Love the story that this little guy who was standing by the fence ended up being adopted during the war by the Jeep driver. And he jumped in that Jeep with the driver and he never left. And Dad said, by golly, he managed to figure out a way to get him home to America. He adopted that little guy. Before the war was over, they even had a uniform that they made for him, and he'd stand up in the Jeep behind the driver and he would salute those guys, and pretty great stories. But anyway, things not to forget about those World War II guys. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to your committee. And I'll just take a moment to say your father was probably a very young man when he went through all of that. How old, Senator, do you think he was?
You know, he was 18 years old, and he said the loneliest feeling in his life was when he saw the Statue of Liberty sink into the water as they headed off to Europe.
A very young man. All right, Senator Pappas,
Mr. President, may I have a privilege of the floor?
please do.
Actually, I would like to ask for two privileges,
All right.
if I may. Today, we have some special guests visiting us, and those are folks from the Wyoming Nonprofit Network. And just a little bit about the Wyoming Nonprofit Network. They have 270 member organizations. The Wyoming Nonprofit Network is the leading voice for the charitable nonprofit sector. Nonprofits are the pillars and providers of essential services, efficiently and effectively operating in every county in Wyoming. Nonprofit partners with government in delivering essential services to our communities, and they have been at the forefront of response and recovery during the pandemic. They enhance our lives and help build vibrant communities through art, education, civic engagement, and recreational opportunities. But what most people actually don't realize is that their impact goes way beyond their core mission areas. They are a major contributor to Wyoming's economy with 16,800 employees. That's 8% of Wyoming's private non-government workforce. With direct, indirect, and induced jobs, the total economic impact is well over $2.2 billion. As we all move forward to build Wyoming's economy, the nonprofit sector and its talented and resourceful workforce is an essential component to all of these efforts. So today, please help me welcome the Wyoming Nonprofit Network Board, staff, and member representatives. They're up here in the gallery.
Welcome to the Senate. Thank you for visiting us. Proceed.
And thank you, Mr. President. And now for my second privilege. This week is the Random Act of Kindness Week. And so I ask you all to go into your mailboxes. You'll find either a yellow or blue envelope with information about Kindness Wyoming. And by the way, you need to empty your mailboxes. So this is a shameless plug for our staff to go.
We're going to
do that.
call
But-
you the mailbox keeper after this. Go ahead.
But what you'll find in there, there's a great cards that you can use, postcards that are made by our Wyoming students about kindness. Don't forget your lapel pin. There's a lapel pin for Kindness Week in there. There's a coin, kindness coin, and there's some inspirational letters from former legislators. So please go grab them today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate it. Thanks. Senator Nethercott.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for information for the body, that Kindness Week originated from the greatest class of all time, the class of 2017 of Leadership Wyoming.
Well, glad we got that clarified. All this time I thought it was the class the good general and I served in 2012, but now I'm corrected. Mr. Majority Floor Leader, are you ready to take us into this?
Thank you, Mr. President. In accordance with Senate Rule 13-5, I move that there be an interim committee bill consent list, which consists of the bills to be read in now by the reading clerk.
Reading clerk, please read in the consent list.
The following bills are sponsored by the Judiciary Committee. Senate File 25, District Judge Positions Authorization. Senate File 26, District Judge Positions Authorization and Funding. Senate File 27, Dissolution of County Boards Authority. Senate File 28, Sex Offender Termination of Duty to Register Amendments. Senate File 29, Liability for Government Healthcare Providers Amendment. The following bills are sponsored by the Education Committee. Senate File 30, Wyoming Community College Investment Fund. Senate File 31, Absenteeism and Truancy. Senate File 32, K3, Reading Assessment and Intervention Program. Senate File 33, Codification of the Education Resource Block Grant Model. The following bills are sponsored by the Agriculture Committee. Senate File 8, Weed and Pest Reorganization. Senate File 9, Revenue Bonds for Agricultural Endeavors. Senate File 10, Predator Control. The following bills are sponsored by the Minerals Committee. Senate File 35, Electric Vehicle Charging Stations Regulation Exemption. Senate File 46, Solid Waste Cease and Transfer Program Funding. Senate File 47, Carbon Storage and Sequestration Liability. The following bills are sponsored by the Labor Committee. Senate File 23, Nursing Home Administrators. Senate File 24, Pharmacist and Pharmacy Technician Practice. Senate File 36, Pharmacy Benefit Managers Act Enhancements. The following bill is sponsored by the Federal National Resources Committee. Senate File 84, Mineral Royalties Proportional Severance Tax Relief.
Would anyone like any of the bills removed from the consent list? Senator Hicks?
President, I'd like Senate File 30, Wyoming Community College Investment Fund, removed from the consent list.
Thank you. Any further? Senator Case?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'd like to remove Senate File 29, Liability for Governmental Healthcare Providers Amendment, and Senate File 9, Revenue Bonds for Agricultural Endeavors, Senate File 84, Mineral Royalties Proportional Severance Tax Release, and Senate File 36, Pharmacy Benefit Managers Act Enhancements.
Senator, that last one was 36.
Yes, Mr. President.
Yeah. Yeah, we're asking for a repeat on those. Senator, would you stand up and give me those numbers again, please, just so we make sure we get this correct?
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Senate File 29. I won't say the names. Senate File 9. Senate File 36. And Senate File 84.
Thanks, Senator. Okay, thank you.
We good?
Yes,
Thank
thank you.
you,
We just
sir.
want to make sure. Any further to be removed? I thought I saw someone else stand. Not so. Okay. I'm going to repeat the list then that is moving through on the consent. Consent list, first reading, Senate File 25, District Judge Positions Authorization. Senate File 26, District Judge Positions Authorization and Funding. Senate File 27, Dissolution of County Boards Authority. Senate File 28, Sex Offender Termination of Duty to Register Amendments. Senate File 31, Absenteeism and Truancy. Senate File 32, K through 3, Reading Assessment and Intervention Program. Senate File 33, Codification of the Education Resources Block Grant Program. Senate File 8, Weed and Pest Recognition. Reorganization, excuse me. Senate File 10, Predator Control. Senate File 35, Electric Vehicle Charging Stations Regulation Exemption. Senate File 46, Solid Waste Cease and Transfer Program Funding. Senate File 47, Carbon Storage and Sequestration Liability. Senate File 23, Nursing Home Administrators. Senate File 24, Pharmacists and Pharmacy Technician Practice. And that concludes our first reading of the bills on consent list. Roll call to be taken. Chief Clerk. And this requires a 2/3 vote.
On the consent list, Anderson. Aye. Baldwin. Beitman. Boner. Bouchard. Case.
Aye.
Cooper, Driscoll, Ellis, French, Furphy, Guru, Hicks, Hutchings, James, Kinsky, Cole, Cost, Landon, McCune, Nethercott, Pappas, Perkins, Rothfuss, Salazar, Schuler, Scott, Steinmetz, Wasserberger, President Dockstader. On the consent list, 30 aye.
Following bills have received the required approval of two. Oh, excuse me. Stand corrected twice.
Because she's having a moment.
Patience for the computer here this morning.
Senate File 25, are there any changes? Bouchard, aye to no. James, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing, vote closed. Senate File 25, 28 aye, 2 no. Senate File 26, are there any changes? Bouchard, aye to no. James, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing, vote closed. Senate File 26, 28 aye, 2 no. Senate File 27, are there any changes? Wasserberger, aye to no. Driscoll, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing, vote closed. Senate File 27, 28 aye, 2 no. Senate File 28, are there any changes? Schuler, or I apologize, Salazar, aye to no. Whitman, aye to no. Bouchard, aye to no. Hutchings, aye to no. James, aye to no. McEwen, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 28, 24 aye, 6 no. Senate File 31, are there any changes? Richard, I just know. Closing vote. Closing. James, I to know. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 31, 28 aye, 2 no. Senate File 32, are there any changes? Rothfuss, aye to no. Guru, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 32, 28 aye, 2 no. Senate File 33, are there any changes? Rothfuss, I don't know. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 33, 29 aye, 1 no. Senate File 8, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 8, 30 aye. Senate File 10, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 10, 30 aye.
Here it comes. Here it
Senate File 35, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 35, 30 aye. Senate File 46, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 46, 30 aye. Senate File 47, are there any changes? Bouchard, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 47, 29 aye, 1 no. Senate File 23, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 23, 30 aye. Senate File 24, are there any changes? Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 24, 30 aye. Senate,
That's it. Can I have a question, just a moment with you, clerk? Chief Clerk, approach the desk. No, let me ask you this. So now I go to here. Following bills, having received the required approval of 2/3 of the elected members. Senate File 25. assigned to committee number 1, Judiciary. Senate File 25 is referred to committee number 1. Senate File 26 received the approval of the 2/3 of the elected members. Senate File 26 is referred to committee number 1, Judiciary. Senate File 27 is assigned to committee number 1, Judiciary. Senate File 28, having passed the Senate, is assigned to committee number 1, Judiciary. Senate File 31 is assigned to committee number 4, Education. Passed the Senate. Senate File 32, having passed the Senate with 2/3 vote, assigned to committee number 4, Education. Senate File 33, passed the Senate with 2/3 vote, is assigned. Senate File 33, and passed the Senate with 2/3 vote, is assigned to committee number 4, Education. Senate File 8, having passed the Senate with 2/3 vote, is assigned to committee number 5, Agriculture. Senate File 10, having passed the Senate with 2/3 vote, is assigned to committee number 5, Agriculture. Senate File 35, having received 2/3 vote in the Senate on introduction, is assigned to Minerals Committee number 9. Senate File 46, having passed introduction on 2/3 vote, assigned to committee number 9, Minerals. Senate File 47, passed the Senate with 2/3 vote on introduction, is assigned to committee number 9, Minerals. Senate File 23, passed the Senate with 2/3 vote on introduction, assigned to committee number 10, Labor. And Senate File 24, having passed on 2/3 vote in the Senate on introduction, assigned to committee number 10, Labor. Now we'll move to those bills that were removed. Senate File 29, first reading of the bill. Reading clerk, please read it in.
Senate File 29, Liability for Governmental Healthcare Providers Amendment, sponsored by the Judiciary Committee.
Chairman Nethercott?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for introduction of Senate File 29, Liability for Governmental Healthcare Providers Amendments. Good senators, this bill comes from the work of the Joint Judiciary Committee, wherein we reviewed Wyoming Supreme Court opinions as part of our interim topics. And this particular bill draft comes out of a review of those Supreme Court opinions. In particular, Wyoming State Hospital and the state of Wyoming versus a family by the name of Romine. In the court in that case found full liability coverage for ordinary negligence as it related to medical providers' sexual assault. And so the interpretation of the Governmental Claims Act in that case, we believe the statute needs further clarification associated with the two types of immunity coverage and the damages caps associated with that. So good senators, in Wyoming, under the Governmental Claims Act, there are 6 types of exceptions for which you can successfully sue the government for. And there's a cap on that for ordinary negligence of $500,000. We also have a specialized exception to the Governmental Claims Act associated with medical negligence or medical malpractice, which has $1 million cap. And so what this bill draft does is it provides that needed clarification to recognize that that $1 million coverage cap only applies to those instances for medical professionals for medical malpractice related negligence and doesn't have anything to do with ordinary negligence. But the people of Wyoming can still sue under ordinary negligence claims, but there is just no kind of absurd result. Under the current reading of the statute of how the Supreme Court has interpreted it under the Romine case would indicate that if a doctor committed a car crash while operating as an employee of the state, as a medical provider of the state, the victim in that case could receive $1 million, whereas your local garbage truck driver, 500,000. That's an absurd result. And so we want to get that corrected, that that result is the same, and we're not doing anything with damage caps or reducing liability, just providing that statutory clarification associated with for medical malpractice, which likely has, there's a probability of a greater amount of damages associated with that, that you still can avail yourself of the $1 million, but it doesn't apply to ordinary negligence. And I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
All right. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Senate File 29, introductory vote. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Whitman? No. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Guru? No. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. James? Conflict? Kinsky? Aye. Kolb? Aye. Cost? Aye. Landon? Aye. McCune? No. Nethercott?
Aye.
Aye. Pappas? Aye. Perkins? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. Wasserberger? Aye. President Dockstader? Aye. Closing vote. Closing vote close. Senate File 29 introduction, 24 aye, 5 no, 1 conflict.
Senate File 29, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 1, Judiciary. Senate File 30, first reading of the bill. Reading clerk, read it in.
Senate File 30, Wyoming Community College Investment Fund, sponsored by the Education Committee.
Senator Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for introduction of Senate File 30, Wyoming Community College Investment Fund. Dear colleagues, for years, we have heard from our community colleges, what is your biggest challenge? When we ask them that, they say sustainable funding. Wyoming's community colleges are constantly searching for an established, consistent, and non-volatile funding source, which would provide them a level of support to sustain and build on the services they provide to their students and to our communities. Since 2010, budget erosion to our community colleges has amounted to $94 million. Since 2016, our colleges have reduced the number of positions by almost 300, 281 positions to be exact. If you read your local papers, you'll see that your community colleges have eliminated numerous programs. They've stopped offering certain degrees. All of this comes at a time when our community colleges, we recognize, are part of a solution to keep the pulse of our state beating. We need them to train employees, to help build a competitive workforce, to increase educational attainment, and create educational opportunity for thousands of people statewide, many of whom are searching for new jobs and new careers in new fields as a result of layoffs in other sectors. If this is what we're expecting of our community colleges, we need to listen to their concern about providing sustainable funding. So the bill you have before you will create an endowment. You'll recall that years ago, there have been efforts by legislators and work groups to come up with ideas for sustainable funding for the colleges. Unfortunately, many of those ideas have gone by the wayside. Today, we are bringing to you a bill that has been worked through the interim, and it's very similar to how we set up other endowments. You'll notice that in the final pages of the bill that this would only expend $1,000 to set up this account, because we want to make sure that members of this chamber are aware of the needs, the funding needs of the colleges. And so we want to debate the merits of that. Colleagues, I'm not asking for your final support on this bill. All we're asking for is it to continue to move through the process, to go through the Education Committee and come back to you so we can have a more robust discussion of the merits of this bill. So please vote aye. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Introductory roll call, Senate File 30. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Whitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? No. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. James? No. Kinsky? No. Cole? No. Cost? Aye. Landon? Aye. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Perkins? No. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? No. Wasserberger? Aye. President Dockstetter? No. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 30, 19 aye, 11 no.
Senate File 30, having failed to receive a 2/3 majority vote. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I got here. Senate File 30, having failed to receive a 2/3 majority vote, Senate File 30 has failed introduction. Senate File 9, first reading of the bill.
Senate File 9, revenue bonds for agricultural endeavors, sponsored by the Agriculture Committee.
Senator Boner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for introduction of Senate File 9 and ask for the body's favorable consideration. Mr. President, what this bill does is it deals with a challenge that we've long known has existed in the state of finding ways to add value to the products that we make in the state in a way that provide jobs and more, in this case, opportunities to market their products from our ag producers. After a lot of work in the Interim Agriculture Committee, found a way that could do this without using public resources through the Wyoming Business Council by using what is called industrial revenue bonds. Now, this is a provision in the federal tax code that allows up to usually around 300 million worth of projects worth of bonds to be issued without the income tax on the revenue. It results in a lower rate, and the only consistent program that uses this is the Wyoming Community Development Authority. We use less than half of our capacity. The other half is available for value added projects. And this is just giving another tool to Wyoming Business Council so they can go out there and have an additional incentive for these value added projects. We're excited to have this discussion. It could serve as a pilot project, if you will, for other types of industrial development. But for now, we're staying within our charge as the Agriculture Committee to help provide additional opportunities for our producers to market their products, as well as provide jobs throughout our cities and towns to help process and add value to these agricultural products. It's a really important discussion. I hope you can vote for it on introduction so you can learn more.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Introductory vote, Senate File 9. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Whitman? No. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? No. James? No. Kinsky? Aye. Cole? No. Cost? Aye. Landon? Aye. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Perkins? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? I. Schuler. I. Scott. I. Steinmetz. I. Wasserberger. I. President Dockstader. I. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 9, 23 aye, 7 no.
Senate File 9, having received 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee Number 5, Agriculture. Senate File 36, first reading bill. Reading clerk, read it in.
Senate File 36, Pharmacy Benefit Managers Act Enhancements, sponsored by the Labor Committee.
Senator Hutchins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move Senate File 36, Pharmacy Benefit Manager Acts Enhancements, and ask for your favorable consideration for introduction. In 2016, the pharmacy benefit managers were created in our statutes 2652-105. They created the benefit manager, but they didn't put any boundaries or rules or regulations really in the statutes for the pharmacy benefit managers. And with that, over the years, we've had difficulties with these PBMs across our nation. Last year alone, one of our national legislative groups was tracking 81 pieces of legislation in 29 states to try to rein in PBM activities. This bill does the following. It prevents PBMs from steering businesses away from our local, business away from our local Wyoming pharmacies to their own PBM-owned pharmacies. States PBMs can no longer pay our Wyoming pharmacies below their costs for the drug a patient receives. It stops unfair business practices Wyoming pharmacies are increasingly experiencing. You are hearing some things about costs on this bill. Data from a specific foundation study on health insurance premium trends show that states that have passed PBM licensure and reform, including many of the provisions included in this bill, have not seen an increase in health insurance premiums. We are committed to working on the fiscal note on this bill and finding out some solutions. I have requested an itemized breakdown cost from the employee group insurance, but have not received that to date. With that, our U.S. highest court ruled in December of 2020, and it stipulated that states do have the authority for rate setting in their review of a case filed by the PBM trade group against a southern state law that stated PBMs must pay pharmacies fairly. Over a number of states have passed PBM reform. Currently, PBMs are using Wyoming small business owners to subsidize their profits by paying them below cost. Pharmacies are simply asking them to stop. The bill clearly states the accreditation required should meet all state laws and requirements of the Wyoming Board of Pharmacy. PBMs are, use ever-increasing accreditation standards to push pharmacies out of their networks. This bill uses the Board of Pharmacy as the gold standard for safety, not the PBMs.
Senator, we're at 3, so. kind
Okay,
of
members,
Find a concluding statement
we
there.
got it. We're right there. Members, I ask for your I vote to advance this bill, help our local pharmacies and local communities, and to learn more about this particular project. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Senate File 36, introduction, roll call. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? No. No. Whitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? No. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Murphy? No. Guru? No. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings?
Aye.
Aye. James? Aye. Kinsky? Aye. Cole? No. Cost? No. Landon? Aye. McCune?
Aye.
Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Perkins? Aye. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? No. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. Wasserberger? No. President Dockstetter? Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 36, 21 aye, 9 no.
Senate File 36, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee number 10, Labor Health. Senate File 84, first reading of the bill. Reading clerk, please read it in.
Senate File 84, Mineral Royalties Proportional Severance Tax Relief, sponsored by the Federal Natural Resources Committee.
Senator Bonner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for introduction of Senate File 84 and ask for the body's favorable consideration. Senators, this bill comes to you from your select Federal Natural Resource Management Committee. As you can imagine, we've been hearing a lot of testimony about the change of administrations and the less friendly regulatory environment that many of our oil, gas, coal producers are facing on federal lands and federal minerals. This bill addresses one element of that onslaught against our core industries, which is increasing the royalty rate on those industries. This will result in increased revenue to state government. This bill provides stability to state and local government. It's important to note that these different revenue streams have been carefully negotiated between severance taxes, federal mineral royalties, ad valorem taxes. This bill is also important to provide stability to that state and local government so we can not upset that apple cart. It's really important to understand that this federal policy change will result in a reduction in severance taxes paid in the state. It will result in a reduction in ad valorem taxes that primarily go to local governments. So I believe it's important that we move this vehicle forward to ensure that we can prepare ourselves for this significant change at both the state and local level, but also provide some stability and predictability for our core industries, which are important not just for revenue, but for our constituents, for their livelihoods, so they can have jobs when the federal government, which owns so much of this state, is actively trying to suppress that economic activity. I'd suggest to you that we have an obligation to do something that's completely within our control, to provide stability for those constituents, for those industries, and for state and local government as well. I ask for your favorable vote.
Chief Clerk, call the roll.
Senate File 84, introductory vote. Roll call. Anderson?
Aye.
Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner?
Aye.
Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Case?
No.
No. Cooper? Aye. Driscoll? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Furphy? No. Guru? No. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. James? Aye. Kinsky? Aye. Cole? Aye. Cost? Aye. Landon? Aye. McCune? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Perkins? Aye. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. Wasserberger? Aye. President Dockstetter? Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 84, 26 aye, 4 no.
Senate File 84, having received a 2/3 majority vote, is referred to Committee number 9, Minerals. Reports from standing committees.
February 14, 2022. Mr. President, your committee number 2 appropriations, to whom was referred Senate File 57, Chancery Court vacancy amendments, respectfully reports same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Grew, Kinski, and Perkins. Excused, Senators Hicks and Steinmetz. Senator Perkins, Chairman. February 14, 2022, Mr. President, your committee number 2 appropriations, to whom is referred Senate File 58, Wyoming Council for Women's Issues Workforce Services, respectfully reports same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Grew, Kinski, and Perkins. Excused, Senators Hicks and Steinmetz. Senator Perkins, Chairman. February 14, 2022, Mr. President, your committee number 2 appropriations, to whom is referred Senate File 59, Game and Fish Fund Investments, respectfully reports same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Grew, Hicks, Kinski, Perkins, and Steinmetz. Senator Perkins, Chairman. February 14, 2022, Mr. President, your committee number 2 appropriations, to whom is referred Senate File 39, Fireman's Pension Plan Benefits, respectfully reports same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Grew, Hicks, Kinski, Perkins, and Steinmetz. Senator Perkins, Chairman. February 14, 2022, Mr. President, your committee number 8, Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs, to whom is referred Senate File 40, Criminal Record Dissemination Military Department, respectfully reports same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Anderson, Furphy, Landon, McEwen, and Pappas. Senator Landon, Chairman. February 14, 2022, Mr. President, committee number 8, Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs, to whom is referred Senate File 45, Military Department Annual Report, respectfully reports same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Anderson, Furphy, Landon, McEwen, and Pappas. Senator Landon, Chairman. February 15, 2022, Mr. President, committee number 6, Travel, Recreation, Wildlife, and Cultural Resources, to whom is referred Senate File 6, Aquatic Invasive Species Inspection Enforcement, respectfully reports same back to the Senate with a recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Ellis, Garu, Landon, Salazar, and Schuler. Senator Ellis, Chairman. February 15, 2022, Mr. President, committee number 7, Corporations, Elections, and Political Subdivisions, to whom is referred Senate File 75, Deferred Annuities, Minimum Non-Forfeiture, respectfully reports same back to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Senators Boner, Case, Driscoll, and Nethercott. No, Senator Scott. Senator Nethercott, acting chairman.
Thank you. At this point, Mr. Majority Floor Leader, we're down to about 45 minutes, so my counsel to you is we wait and come back after lunch and then move into Committee of the Whole. How do you feel about that, sir?
I'm going to take your direction today.
Okay, so
Mr. President, I move we stand recessed until 2 p.m. I don't think we have a big load this afternoon. We'll go ahead and start at 2. We can have a long lunch.
okay, we'll stand in recess until 2 p.m. Thank you. Oh, go ahead. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to make sure everybody knows that there is a Western Legislative Academy alumni lunch today in room W108. That goes till 1 p.m. So if you're alumni of the WLA, you're more than welcome to go down and visit with some good folks from the Council of State Governments West. They're here to visit and to have some discussions. So yeah, feel free to head on down and then say hi to those folks who do such a great job supporting Western legislatures.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Other Mr. Chairman, Chairman Case.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, we have a revenue committee today. We noticed it for the noon recess. I think the noon part will throw some people off, so I'd like to start the revenue committee at promptly at 12 o'clock. And we will be taking up Senate File 19, County Optional Property Tax Refund Program, Senate File 34, Inheritance Tax Fees Repeal, Senate File 37, Sales Tax Exemptions Certify Eligibility, Senate File 38, Monthly Ad Valorem Tax Revisions. That'll be in Connector W6, Mr. President.
Busy schedule, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Chairman Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your committee number 2 will resume its discussion of the state. We're going to undertake the discussion of state-funded capital construction, Senate File 67. had that notice for this morning. We didn't get to it this morning, so we're going to take it. We said we'd take it up on in recess. So we will do that. We will start that in about 10 minutes in room 301 and online.
Okay, appropriations in 10 minutes. Thank you. Chairman Baldwin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just an early announcement for Committee 10, your favorite committee, the Perfect 10 Committee, for early tomorrow morning. We are going to meet at 7:30 tomorrow morning to take on Senate File 36 first, Senate File or Pharmacy Benefit Managers Act enhancements, followed by Senate File 23 Nursing Home Administrators, hopefully followed by Senate File 24 Pharmacist and Pharmacy Technician Practice, 7:30 at W6.
7:30. Thank you. W6. Senator Bolden, are you back again?
Yeah, probably should have just done two at once. Just a reminder, Mr. Chairman, your Agriculture Committee number 5 will meet upon adjournment today and Capital Center.
Let me have you say that really loud again.
Okay.
I'm going to get a speaker fixed up here, but I don't know if any of you are thinking. Yeah,
Okay.
speak right up.
Okay, your committee number 5, agriculture, will meet in W2 and online today upon adjournment to consider Senate File 10, predator control, Senate File 8, weed and pest reorganization, and Senate File 9, revenue bonds for agriculture endeavors.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any other announcements? Any other announcements? Okay, we'll stand at recess until 2.